This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Nora Weiss is the Marketing and Communications Manager for Atlantic Street Center, and she's also on the advisory board for Give Big 2025. She's a dynamic young woman who's here to give us an inspiring view of philanthropy and being a good community member. Nora Weiss, good morning, and thank you so greatly for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me here, Kate.
I'm really appreciating your being available because I certainly have a little bit of awareness about the Atlantic Street Center, but things have certainly changed over the years, and now we have this collaboration going on, collaboration in the sense of it's Give Big season, and so you are involved with this wonderful, important campaign. So we're going to weave these two things together this morning and really give our listeners, I feel, a good chance to see some great work being done.
Yes, I'm here to talk about Give Big and mention Atlantic Street Center, who I'm incredibly happy and lucky to work with. I've been here for 4 years in Seattle and with Atlantic Street Center. So that's also 4 years of me getting to know Washington Give Big.
And so you have been involved with Give Big over these last 4 years that you've been here.
Yes, I've been on both sides as a donor, as a nonprofit, and now I'm lucky to be serving on the Give Big Advisory Council.
Oh, that as well. How perfect. Well, because this really began as the focus with Give Big, which is so important in our community. Let's start with what that means, both in terms of the community, but really for Atlantic Street Center.
Sure. So for Atlantic Street Center, coming as a nonprofit and being a part of the Give Big campaign, it's an opportunity for us to reach new donors in a very intentional way. Because Give Big says to donors, it says to the community, hey, we know everybody's been trying to give big and do well for their community, because we all do like to show up for others, whether it's family member or our community organization. Giving feels good and we all could use more of it. So for an organization like Atlantic Street Center, we are part of this collective where anybody can go into wagives.org and say, I want to support an organization that does this in this part of the state, serving this kinds of people, this kinds of animals or forestry. And those organizations just pop up on your screen. And for an org like Atlantic Street Center, it's a way for us to reach donors in a way that reignites giving in their heart of hearts. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody's saying, I want to give back, but you get distracted by totally normal things. And now we have this season of, let's find a moment to give, and here's all the information that you need. So for us, it's an extra way to start that really nice, warm hearth of meeting people that want to help us in our vision.
And so as you moved to this area and became involved with Give Big and then with Atlantic Street Center, did this feel like something rather unique, or had you experienced that before?
I would say Give Big is incredibly unique because we as donors, and when I say we, I mean like the collective world of people who love to give back in whatever way works for them. We're all used to, Giving Tuesday, which has its head space at the end of the year. We have the big giving season for most nonprofits is like December. And so in that springtime area, you're kind of looking for other ways to give back on both ends, whether you're an org looking for new people to connect with, or you're the donor that's saying, I need to be reminded, I need to be told how my passions can help those around us. And coming from a nonprofit background, it really is helpful when there's a much bigger platform that we can enter in as the nonprofit, rather than having to create another stage, another project. So coming into Washington and seeing this unification that's statewide really opened my eyes to there's some efficiency to ignite those passions and have them go in a very intentional direction. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan.
It is. There's a reason to be a big fan of it. Just, this big organizational platform with all the options right there, being able to, one, we can select, and secondly, we get educated like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed. And so that kind of awareness, I think, is so beneficial both to the organizations as well as to us as the donors. Yeah.
Yes, and what I can say, just to give kind of a summary on Give Big, because when I came here from the East Coast or anybody that's a transplant, Seattle, greater area, up and down the coast of Washington, transplants are coming here for all various reasons. I came here for a nonprofit job. And what Give Big is, it's a springtime giving season here in Washington state. And technically, it starts on April 22nd, where you can go on wagives.org, look up the orgs that match your passions, and you can give to them, learn about volunteer opportunities if that's how you choose to give, or just share their content on your social media. And in May 6th and 7th, it's those final 48 hours of push where all these orgs are saying, these are the causes, these are our fundraising goals for this particular campaign that's going to help us get to the end of the year. In these last 48 hours, May 6th and 7th, that's when we need your dollars the most if that's how you're choosing to give this year. And that's what I like about Give Big. It's this intentional scheduled time. As someone who loves lists and things to do and parameters, it's really helpful as a donor and an org to just have this very curtailed space. And it really is an easy way to get involved and extend your partnership with these orgs long after.
Right. How exciting, because here we are. It is springtime. This is the season, and we're really ramping up right now to get into this really big time of giving big. And every year, it's an important time, and there's lots of needs. But this year feels particularly more so that there's perhaps greater need that goes on. Is that your sense of it, Nora?
I would definitely agree. There's a lot of moving parts that are unfortunately out of individuals' control and out of the control of many nonprofits out there. And I think because we're all in such a reactive state, understandably so, we forget that the word nonprofit is a very expansive term. So we think about our local organizations like Atlantic Street Center, who's been around since 1910, pivoting to meet the different needs that appear in our society, trying to fill those gaps. But our nonprofits are also, youth sports, it's libraries, it's recovery centers. It's all these areas in which our communities thrive. And we sometimes forget that we are thriving alongside and because of them. So with an organizational campaign like Washington Gives Big, like I've said before, we have this now intentional space to look through almost this like matchmaking service of looking through these organizations that really are giving soulmates, almost like our passion soulmates. And we can say, I know now that more than ever, these services are so vital, especially when funding resources are changing. And as a donor, what is it that I can do? Is it my time, my treasures, or my talents? And these orgs will get on washingtongives.org and tell you exactly what they need in this moment in time. And you can then support in a way that works best for you.
And when that happens, when it has that kind of meaning, a personal connection, I think we really tend to just open up. We blossom more and respond better. Do you think that's true, Nora?
I do. I think when we start to get involved with community and social investment, and we almost emotionally subscribe to these orgs and what they do for our community, we start to then see that difference being made in our everyday life. It's kind of like when someone says, oh, your lucky numbers are 1, 2, and 3, and you start walking around, you see 1, 2, and 3 all of a sudden, because it's almost like, I like to say, you're wiping the schmutz off your sunglasses. Because now that I've connected with an org as a donor, let's say, I'm beginning to see and recognize the issues that they're trying to solve. And then I begin to see the positive impacts while I'm supporting in whatever that way that works. So maybe I'm a donor and I see an organization with a branded minivan at the gas station, and I can say, oh, I'm helping for gasoline to help them to get to their participants or drop off items at a shelter. Or perhaps I'm now seeing headlines of a certain species that is repopulating that was on an endangered list. So there are these moments where we say, oh, I'm a part of that change, because now we are more open to understanding what those needs are. It's a layer of transparency that we're giving ourselves to walk through.
And I love the way that you have framed that. It's just a great way to really see with a new lens. And I love the way you say you wipe the schmutz off your glasses. That's it.
Yes.
We are seeing differently and in new ways. And I think that's exciting. It just really gets us more wound up to be involved and to look for something new. So I love your passion and your awareness. You really are a gift, I think, to the organizations as well as to us this morning.
Oh, you're so kind. My mother's going to get a hit out of that.
Well, Mom, she is.
Well, I've just always been, I was a kid that definitely profited off of wonderful nonprofits that gave to me, my family, and our communities back in Boston where I grew up. And it also helped me understand my own privileges and realize that there's so much that we can give to organizations as well as they can give to us. And when we're consistently looking at funding cuts, funding changes, the ways that our neighborhoods are changing, and we can still find positives, we just have to remember that we can all show up, but we have to also remember that showing up looks different for other people. Mm-hmm. And I think Washington Gives is this platform where we as organizations and donors and participants can kind of come to a meeting ground almost and say, okay, where are we all at? Where am I at? And how can I give? How can I also make my dollars count? But also, how can I stay connected? How can I be a part of this organization or this cause long after Give Big? So, for example, Atlantic Street Center, when we have our fundraising page on WashingtonGives.org, we have, the summary of what we've been doing. We're celebrating 115 years of service this year. And so we want people to celebrate with us all year long. We have our 24th annual Juneteenth celebration on June 18th. At the Rainier Community Center. And then we have our gala at the end of the year on October 18th at the Renaissance. And so we're just like other orgs saying, if you can give for Give Big, amazing, wonderful. But there are also ways that you can give time, treasures, and talents far beyond.
It's good to hear about the Juneteenth celebration, as now the date is a holiday here in the city.
Yeah, we're very excited. It's our 24th year. We're one of actually a plethora of local organizations that have been celebrating for a long time. My wonderful director, Teresa Everett, has been doing our Juneteenth celebration since its inception of 24 years. And King County has been really supportive. There are other organizations like Art Noir, the Urban League of Seattle, all these wonderful places that are going to have celebrations throughout all of June that we should all check out to really come together with community and learn and educate ourselves about excellence in the community, about community resources. And that's what our Juneteenth at Atlantic Street Center does, is a lot of community connection.
And, as you speak about this, and you just obviously have a real heart for it and a passion, but you said you've only been here 4 years. Is that right?
Yes, I moved here in 2021.
Amazing. So that you've just obviously just so immersed yourself that you're kind of one and the same with all that goes on. It's your home now.
Yes. Speaking of my family on the East Coast, my father's always said I've had a knack for making a home wherever I go. And when I was in the airport in Boston coming to Seattle, I was emailing with youth soccer organizations, and I was a coach for a local soccer team before I even landed in Seattle. And I am very lucky to have coached this same group of wonderful boys that are now going to be, I think, 10 this coming year. So I think for me, I'm someone who loves to just immerse immediately and dive in. And for me, I love volunteering with sports, and I love learning about cultures and what makes a community thrive historically and where we can see ourselves in the future. But some people thrive on giving dollars. They give maybe talent, maybe they teach a workshop to a staff at an org. So what Washington Gives does is it creates that opportunity to connect with an org you might have lapsed with that you haven't been really paying attention to, or you are rediscovering for the first time, and you can give in ways that work for you, whether it's doing like a credit card or working with your IRA or your donor advised fund, or, giving $1 for the next couple of months. It presents different ways to make that social investment.
And that's so important. Having those options, it's really invaluable.
Yeah, I think the more that we present each other with options, the more we have ways to give that maybe we've never even realized for ourselves before, and thus giving organizations ways to help those they serve thrive in ways that maybe they've never thought of before. So it's all about just creating opportunities for more opportunities.
I just have to step back a couple of paces to what you had said about your dad telling you that you just make a home wherever it is that you land. And they, of course, your parents, have been instrumental in that. You don't just become that like on a whim. I'm sure that they nurtured that for you so that you are this really lovely young woman that's here and coaching these boys. Those boys, I think, are a lucky group to have you.
I mean, I'll say the cliche thing is I'm very lucky to have them. I'm just very privileged to have these parents that really just gave it their all, because every time I would do something silly as a child, we'll call it silly, it was not only my first time being that way, but it was their first time experiencing something like that and just going off with it. And so my father is a grant writer back on the East Coast. He was a contractor beforehand, and I was just a kid that rode around in his truck until my mother said, you can't put a baby seat in a truck. And so then there was a diversion in that path. But my mother's worked in, she was a federal worker for a long time, and we're just really immersed in our own community in Boston. And just when I came here to Seattle, I got tired of the weather in the East Coast. So I just wanted to love a new place and to have them love me back. And so I really just dove right in, and Atlantic Street Center also welcomed me with open arms. And I have lovely colleagues, lovely friends. And it just is a testament that when I moved from Boston to Seattle, it's always a big change, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a good reminder that our lives can change on a dime very quickly, for the good or for the worse, right? And knowing that there are resources out there for people, whatever they're experiencing, whatever they're going through, is so vital, because all of us really want to, and I say all of us, and I can't speak for all of us, but I am somebody that wants to feel useful. And when I'm, down and I'm feeling like I need something to hold on to, it is only beneficial that there are organizations that can help me in whatever niche ways that I need help. That if I'm someone who needs help, I'm sure there are more people, certain causes, forestry, animals, environmentalism, fighting racism, fighting, sexism, misogyny. There are all these organizations that are just dying to give back. And as donors and as participants, we have to have this circle of good. And I think Washington Gives is one of those ways that we can do that.
And it's such an important reminder about that, the circle of giving, the circle of life. To remember it's a circle and we're all part of it. And it's never complete unless we're all really here doing what we can as part of it.
Yes. You can see it in a lot of organizations too. And I'm very interested. I go down, everybody has their rabbit hole, right? And one of my rabbit holes is organizations and local histories. And Atlantic Street Center, because we've been around for 115 years, consistently changing, we have what I like to call just generational empowerment and stories. So starting in 1910 by deaconesses of the United Methodist Church out here in Seattle, a few years in, one of the first things the organization was supporting were children and women impacted by the influenza pandemic. And we all know in 2020, another pandemic that Atlantic Street Center and many other organizations stepped up to create more support. And so just being part of Atlantic Street Center and that legacy out here in the greater Seattle area, you get to see this continuous cycle of, okay, this situation is happening. How do we pivot and answer to that? Because in the early 1900s, Atlantic Street Center was supporting newly immigrated Italian families in the Rainier Valley. And then in the 60s and 70s, Atlantic Street Center pivoted to helping Black and African American families, specifically helping and partnering with the Black Panthers for their free breakfast program, making sure that kids had food to eat before they went to school. So you see this consistency of turning around, doing a 360, doing a 180, whatever it means to kind of serve whoever's in front of you. And you get to see that ongoing cycle with giving, with volunteering, and with organizations.
It is an amazing history, and being able to pivot to these changes that go on attests to how strong and resilient this organization is, and is always there to really be part of the community. And so it is. And I think in that way, it really is an organization for us to think about in terms of supporting. That's it with Give Big. We can choose a dozen. We can choose one. We can choose 20. So, here's an opportunity to kind of shop the site and choose these organizations.
What I like about the Give Big team is that they really try to make it easy for the donor because, we all have things, we all have responsibilities, catching a bus, making it to an appointment, taking time for ourselves, which is just as important. So, what Give Big will do is they will send you an email that say, "Hey, you donated to these organizations last year, or you donated around this time last year. Will we see you again?" Just giving you that gentle reminder that you have this commitment that you made. Did you want to make it again? And it also is an opportunity for orgs who have signed up to be on the Washington Gives platform to start creating their own marketing. And coming from a marketing perspective, I'm the marketing manager here at ASC. I know that is not an easy task for any nonprofit. And so what's a really great thing about Washington Gives is that if you're on the advisory council like myself, sometimes we'll be paired up with orgs that are curious and say, "Hey, like, is Washington Gives for me? How can I start to reach our donors? What's some good pathways?" Because every org, just as they do their own work, their own audience of donors is different, and their marketing strategy would be different than mine. So what I like is we've collaborated with people. We'll have partnerships born out of it. I got to meet with the wonderful folks of Rhapsody Music Project last year, and then they started doing music lessons with our kids at our summer academy. So there's options to get donations, volunteers, and there's options for collaboration. All these opportunities are there. And of course, the hardest thing to do is get the time. But when we have, again, this intentional giving time starting April 22nd with a big push on May 6th and 7th, there's that moment where you say, okay, maybe I can carve out a little bit of time, whether I'm the org or the donor, depending on what my donation looks like.
Yes, and intentional is definitely a great word, which you've used at least a couple of times, Nora. So it really is important for us to think in terms of that. And our time, that is not to be looked at as insignificant because we're all so busy these days. So to use that intentionally and to use the time, this is where I think social media really does well, is to share what we're doing and how we're donating on our social platforms.
Yes. So social media is a positive tool in this space for sure. You have your hashtags, Give Big, WA Gives, and that giving feeling, because this is all about that giving feeling. But there's also lots of different ways to use that social media. If you make a donation, of course, sharing that you've done it, bragging about yourself is great. It's not a brag in a way that you're doing something better than someone else. Nonprofits love when you brag that you've donated. They love it. They love when you share stories about their staff, because the staff is really what, makes the organization reach that next milestone. So when we're on social media talking about stories, we're talking about impact. What we love to see is just people, again, sharing. And if that's your way to give that year, that's great. That's your donation, is your time on social media, on your platform, talking up this wonderful org that you have so much passion for. You can also do peer-to-peer. Give Big has on their platform, has a peer-to-peer fundraising opportunity. So if you wanted to do fundraising for a specific organization that's on the Give Big platform, you can do that as well. Because many of us, if we're not, paying as much attention to different orgs, because again, time, and we see that our BFF is donating to an org that means a lot to them, sure, I'm happy to donate. And that's where a lot of extra support will come in. So if you are able to utilize social media, I say go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you are really so incredible. I think we really scored, we being the West Coast, we being Seattle, specifically, in terms of your having chosen us to move here, because your energy and enthusiasm and really just like planting yourself here and just get going. It's an inspiration at the very base.
Well, I just got wicked lucky with Atlantic Street Center. And our executive director, Dr. Pia Terry, will often say in conversation about Atlantic Street Center that she's from Chicago. So she also chose Seattle. And she says, I was an Atlantic Street Center kid, even though I wasn't an Atlantic Street Center. And it's kind of this allegory that local organizations are so flexible and so fluid. And when you're in an area that has those local organizations, it is almost a responsibility as that local person to find a way to support them, whether it is donating online or volunteering. Or for Atlantic Street Center, we have a Young Professionals Council. So if you wanted to do something on a consistent basis while adding to your resume, that's an option. Or going to food banks, going to blood drives, helping people register to vote, which is incredibly important. There are all these ways to help, as well as give your dollars for Washington Gives, whatever that looks like to you.
And so with Atlantic Street Center, there's really such a broad array of programs that are going on and opportunities for being involved. It is a great organization.
Yes, I've remiss to even mention exactly what it is Atlantic Street Center does, because we've just been talking about a lot of great stuff so far this morning. But Atlantic Street Center's mission is to support families and communities with raising children and youth through advocacy and programs. So we have 4 core programs that we do this through. We have a behavioral health program, so giving young people access to mental health counselors at no cost to them. We also have a really great video game behavioral health program, giving middle schoolers that opportunity to cultivate really important community and communication skills through video games. We have an early learning program. We piloted one of the first Parent Child Plus programs on Western Washington and going 21 years strong, giving families at no cost in-home early learning specialists to help parents and guardians and their young kids start to learn tactics for preschool and beyond. We have a wonderful youth development and education support program that has support groups for teen parents, kinship providers, after school, a summer academy. And one of our newer programs in the last 6 years is our gender-based violence support program, making sure that survivors and their children have the assets and pathways needed to make sure that they find safe housing and just assets and resources to make sure that they have a positive way forward.
That is just amazing and obviously critically important in the community at any time. And certainly these times are, with their challenges, are really critical for Atlantic Street Center to be here and have these resources available. So definitely an incredible program to support at any time and certainly now through Give Big.
Yes. Like I've said, Give Big is almost this scheduled time in the year where people can visualize a new way to give back. And like you've said, this is a very critical time for everybody in very different ways. And taking that time to donate and to say, well, there's inflation, there's this and there's that. I have all these things to worry about. And yes, and we have to have a way to invest in one another. Social investment and making sure that our communities are going to thrive today and have sustainable futures far beyond critical times. And it is always a challenge. It is always a little scary. But when we have these moments like Give Big, it is a soft reminder that we do have these silver linings and they require a little bit of work. And whatever work that one can give is work that is appreciated. And I always want people to feel comfortable in the way that they give. And giving dollars is always appreciated because we have to keep the lights on at our organization, make sure the internet is running. Like I mentioned earlier, like that van at the gas station, we have to go and fill up the van if we're going to drop off things like diapers or take our kids to a field trip. And just making sure that we as individuals, like for me, recognizing how do I give back in the best possible way. I know that I am a decent soccer coach for young kids. And I know that, I'm saving money in ways that I can. Is there a little bit that I can give back? Sure, for me. And who am I going to give it to? When I go on to wagives.org and I go on the Discover and Donate page, I can just press, I like animals. I like it in this area of the state. And then I will be given all of those organizations that fall under that umbrella. And I can find the cause that matches my heart.
Well, you are, again, this wonderful spokeswoman for both Give Big and for Atlantic Street Center. Your enthusiasm, I wish we could bottle it.
I get it from some really great mentors here at Atlantic Street Center. My teammates, Cindy and Teresa and Dr. Pilateri, our executive director, they're champions of champions, right? They're just saying we have to champion our partners. We have to champion our participants. We have to champion our staff because that is our community. And we're just, as Atlantic Street Center, we're just thankful to be with our community partners and our participants just chugging along together. And then as someone involved with Washington Gives, it's empowering to talk to other organization workers and to hear and validate what we're striving for. And so, yeah, we're headed in the right direction. We just have to figure out how to get everybody else with us and making sure that we're all comfortable on that ride.
Well, you're doing a great part of this work in a great way, I feel, Nora. And I really do so appreciate that we've had this opportunity. I'm so grateful to have met you, and I am grateful that you are here in our community doing this wonderful work. So, Nora Weiss, thank you so greatly.
Thanks for having me, Kate. I had a lot of fun with you today.
Likewise. Thank you for sharing your time here this morning to meet these amazing people and to hear their important stories, all of which I hope reflect the message of this day and time, Easter and the culmination of Passover. Please check the station's websites for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels, and if you'd like to connect with me, simply send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. Do have a wonder-filled day.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.